Good afternoon and welcome back to Magdala for our Novena as we prepare for the feast day of Mary Magdalene on July the 22nd. And as you can notice here, we're in a different place today, a different setting because of our problem with the internet. So given that this is the situation, Paola has decided to pre-record these parts of the Novena so that you can find it. We will also be using a prayer of Mary Magdalene, which you can find in the website, the Magdala website, the prayer to Saint Mary Magdalene, if you would like to follow it there. So we're going to recap a moment because yesterday we were not able to transmit the part of English, so we'll include it today as well as today's one, and I hope that this will help you to take some time to reflect on these ideas which are drawn straight from the Gospels, straight from the experience these people had with the Lord. We can always dig deeper into these, and it's good to take some time afterwards to reflect on perhaps the idea that most touched your heart. So after we had reflected on Mary Magdalene, who had suffered with those 7 demons that the Gospel mentions, we also spoke of how the Lord delivered her and how he set her free, and she was restored in her identity as a child of God, as saved by Jesus and led by the Spirit into her new mission. And she prepares for this new mission by following Jesus, going around from town to town, from village to village, in this work that's very exciting but exhausting too. A work that is beautiful, listening to his preaching, sitting at his feet, asking questions. Mary like a sponge, taking it all in, assimilating it, contemplating it in her heart, and noticing changes within herself, noticing that now that life at the court, maybe in Herod's palace, or all the beautiful parties she would have had earlier, are no longer so necessary for life. She has new delights, which are being in the presence of the Lord, praying the Psalms, going from place to place, listening to Jesus, witnessing the miracles, helping the people to understand the message of Jesus. So this is a new way of life, a new experience for Mary, but it fills her with joy to be helping others on the journey to the Lord. And so Mary also is learning to pray. This is very important in her transformation. She's learning to pray because she watches when Jesus prays. Sometimes he prays among the group. Sometimes he goes off to a place alone to pray. Sometimes they ask him and he teaches them to pray. But Mary is learning to pray with trust and confidence in God. This is really important because one of the biggest tools the demon uses against us is to break that trust in that God is listening to our prayer and that God is actually going to do something about it. So there is no prayer that goes unanswered. So this should encourage us to also to learn to pray and to grow in that trust and also in gratitude for all the gifts of God. Jesus was a man of great gratitude. We thank thee, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. And he saw the beauty of the fields and the lilies that were so pretty and the flowers, the birds that flew around so happily and were filled with just an expression of the goodness of God. He saw and he expressed the bounty of God, the goodness of the Lord who lets the rain fall on the good and bad alike. There were many lessons that Jesus gave as he walked around through nature, through the mountains and hillsides, to the valleys and the rivers and the Sea of Galilee, crossing in a boat over and back, going to Jerusalem. There were so many moments of encounter with the Lord in nature, and they learned to pray. They learned to see God everywhere. And Mary was learning this prayer of gratitude, this prayer of trust. And Mary assisted with the others, with the hospitality of their heart. All the material needs, the food, the lodgings, the medicine, perhaps the basins of water for them to wash their feet when they arrive in exhausted at the end of a long day. maybe oils to pour on those who were scratched, scuffed, sunburned, wounded in some way or another. And this physical help was done with so much kindness from the heart, so much generosity, so much totality, like a good mom at home serves her family with such gentleness and love. And even if there's, a bit of distress in the family, the mother knows how to smooth it out, how to invite people to forgive one another, how to invite them to do something kind for the other, and to help them to be more gentle in taking care of the little one who is still very small, or the elderly one who is already exhausted after a long life of service. To be grateful for other people and their talents and their gifts. And so, too, the women did this. They had this sense of encouraging the others. There is a man called Barnabas, which means the son of encouragement, in the Acts of the Apostles. And he was encouraging those around him, always encouraging the others. He encouraged Paul. He encouraged all the disciples. He was a man who brought consolation wherever he was. And I see the women like that too. I see Mary Magdalene like that. A woman of encouragement. When the others were tired, when they were maybe a little bit down and out, she knew how to stimulate this joy in following the Lord. She was attentive to each one's needs. So it wasn't just the whole group, it was every single person and each person's peculiar personal needs. So this is so important in our journey too, that we learn from her, from the women, and she was learning from Jesus, obviously, how to have this attention to each one and their personal needs. And everywhere she went, she was sharing the good news. The good news of the love of God, the salvation that was coming into the world through Jesus. And how beautiful it is that we too can share this good news. And also we have to think of the kindness and the moral support that she brought. Sometimes people would be worried about the situation, maybe worried about those who were speaking ill about Jesus, maybe worried about where they were going to buy food or how they were going to sort out some other problem that came up. And she was there to give this moral support. The women supported the Lord and his disciples, the gospel tells us, from their own heart, from their own resources, from their physical, material, and moral and spiritual resources, praying for them, praying with them. And this is something we can do too, to pray for each other, to pray with each other, to teach people to pray, to bring them to the Lord, to invite them to enter into that personal encounter with the Lord. None of us is the end of the relationship. It is the Lord who is the final goal. When people encounter the Lord and can let the Lord transform their lives in that encounter, then they are fulfilled, then they are happy, then their lives have a meaning and a purpose that gives them so much joy and fulfillment. So this is what we are trying to do in this novena. We're going to finish now with the prayer that you can find also on the website and have it at hand for the days to come. We're going to be praying it at the end of our novena reflection. Prayer to Saint Mary Magdalene. Of course, every prayer is directed to God, and that's what is the intent of this prayer. But we are also praying with the experience of Mary Magdalene, reflecting on all that she has learned and received from the Lord, in order that we ourselves open our hearts to those gifts that the Lord wants to bring us to. Mary, you experienced the transforming love of Jesus and were freed from the bonds of evil. You became a disciple and follower of Jesus, helped him in his ministry, and witnessed his life-changing power in others. You accompanied Jesus courageously and faithfully at the foot of the cross beside his mother Mary. You encountered the risen Christ and recognized him in the garden. Be an example for me, that I may be freed from evil. Encounter Jesus, follow him, and serve him as you did. Be an example for me of fidelity to Jesus in the face of adversity at the foot of the cross. Be an example for me above all by accepting him alive and risen in my life. Be an example for me so as to bear witness to him and his love to those around me, my family and friends and fellow workers. May Jesus live and reign in my heart. Amen. God bless you, and we'll see you again tomorrow.